Welcome to another episode of my Motortown playthrough. Today we are back on my main character because I needed all money back over here in order to do some track stuff, and yeah, I wanted to show you guys a track that I actually made on the leaked version of this update. Just because back then there was no limit on how many checkpoints you could have, so you can imagine how this is gonna go. I decided to make a track which is a bit longer. The thing is, right now, we currently have a 50 checkpoint limit. I should probably set this up to one lap. And that means that I could not build this in game right now. And with the next update, we are also likely going to have that limit imposed on anything that we want to import. So right now, this is maybe one of the last times I can actually show the track. It's far from ready, but unless we get the checkpoint limit raised as a whole, I don't think I'll be doing much over here to get this to work better. I just wanted to show you guys what we have here right now, and this might be the last chance to do so. So let's start it. We have a lot of stuff to go through, and yeah. Just wanna see how this all goes and give you guys an idea on the kind of thing that I would like to build in this game. To be fair and to be clear really, I wouldn't be making tracks all that long that often, but I think it should be an option. This is basically my own answer to the whole Olle ring or Jeju loop ring that goes around the entire island. Because while that is a cool idea and pretty straightforward with how the ring road goes, I think that it also goes through a few areas that have a few problems here and there. So I want to check out something that's a bit of an alternative to that. If you want to go for a super long race, this would also fit the bill, as you might imagine. But yeah, this is really the least refined version of what this track could be. And I'm having especially a few troubles when it comes to signaling people that they need to turn off at an intersection. So yeah, I'm currently also looking into how the rotation is handled in the file so that I can make some changes to the checkpoints, maybe also reposition them. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be figured out, but it's also kind of fiddly right now. When it comes to the update as a whole, and especially, I mean, the event stuff right now, it's an amazing feature, but it also released in likely one of the roughest states I've ever seen something coming to open testing. But it's also one of the more complex features that we could get, so I think those things might be related. And I could definitely see a scenario where Mr. Wang is just so excited about this stuff, just wants to share it with people, so that might be what plays into the whole thing. And I mean, it's definitely going to be useful for racing events, even as it is right now. I just really hope there's going to be a few more creature comforts and also just a higher checkpoint limit, because as you can see with this track, going above 100 even works perfectly fine. And I would like to have just have a limit that's more based on what's possible on a technical level. I don't just want to have an arbitrary number like let's say 100 checkpoints is what we can get for no apparent reason apart from 100 being a nice number. Ideally, if possible, I would like the limit to be so high that you don't really ever want to reach it or something. But you can basically build whatever you want within it. If there needs to be one for technical reasons, then that's a different story, but 50 right now seems way too low, both for it being practical, but also just, yeah, it doesn't seem to really hit any hard limits with performance or something. So I don't know why it was put in place. I just wish they didn't just enforce it on the imported stuff. Because at the end of the day, while everything is already a bit shaky and not really that convenient. I mean, if I want to change the checkpoint width, I need to do so in a text file. But at least it is possible, and honestly, if you're building a good track, I would definitely go that far. I will go into the text file, edit the angle, edit the scale, and if need be, stitch two things together or more. But it just doesn't work anymore if we can not re-import the whole thing then. So yeah, gonna have to see how that's going to be handled in the long run. I always aim to have decently defined track limits through checkpoints, but also make them so that you can easily follow the route. For what I've seen, some people do it differently, but for the most part it seems to be a decent consensus on how things should be handled. So that's a pretty good standard to have in my opinion. Of course you could also check the map, but really you don't want to just look at the bottom left corner to not miss a turn. You want it to be clear from just how the whole checkpoints are set up, and it should guide you along the entire track and not just confuse it to no end. And I think we are at about the halfway point. Not according to the percentage meter, and I hate this corner. I always mess up. Okay, let's reset here. Oh, I'm a suspect, of course. Yeah, turning off traffic and police for an event would also be something worth considering. I hope they can do it. And ideally I would like it to be a session or a server setting, so that we can do it for the entire thing and not just space out the whole traffic thing for only event participants. Because at that point, as long as people can set up their own events, and it's kinda cool that they can, they could just use that to bypass a few things. So I think it should just be applied consistently for all players. Also maybe even a non-collision mode for time attack runs and all that kind of stuff. Just set up a track, add quite a few laps, and then let them have added as long as or just for as many laps as they can get in. But I will have to see about that. Yeah, I'm definitely spinning out here. I already made a few suggestions to the entire thing. I hope they get implemented. I was a bit surprised that actually right now, if you want to edit your track, if you maybe missed a checkpoint or you placed one wrong and you just need to place it again, you cannot just insert it somewhere in the middle of the track. You would need to make that the new last checkpoint and then manually just bring it back up again in the list. So I was hoping it would work more like the, what they did with bus stops and custom bus routes. But right now it's not a thing, so I hope they at least add it at some point. But yeah, really the main thing about this feature is that it needs more time. There should also hopefully at some point be an option to just edit the checkpoints in-game, just by changing the rotation, position, and also the scale, making them wider or more narrow, depending on what you need. Because right now it's very inconvenient, especially for longer tracks. And with how I usually space out the checkpoints, I need quite a few of them. So for me, if I were to make a long route like this one right here, with only 50 checkpoints, there are going to be major conceits and compromises. So I definitely hope we get a few more of them. this is also a reason why I likely won't be hosting my rally event anytime soon. I could maybe make it work with 50 checkpoints, but I'm not entirely sure. And I would rather wait and see how the entire thing develops instead of making something that's majorly compromised. Also, I don't think I mentioned it yet, but they actually changed the flower pots to the side. So the banks over here, they are not quite as deadly anymore. They are more like ramps now instead of driving up a curb. This is definitely one of those turns that you can easily miss. So this is gonna be a huge improvement. Not just for racing, but basically for any activity. I mean, if you got too close to them, even with just a truck or whatever, it was always dangerous and usually pretty frustrating because it would just throw your car around and just damage you to no end. But yeah, when I said something about the 50% mark, I think it was more like being 50% around the map. So coming from the north to the south. But I think the east part here is a bit more involved than the west end. Also 2 checkpoints right here. Yeah. There would need to be a lot of work put into this in order to make it really up to any standards. But right now what it is, I think it's a fun route with a lot of potential to make the checkpoints a bit nicer. And this thing is actually so long that maybe in the future, if I find the time, I might just cut this up into multiple different other routes. Just combining parts of them, I think that would be nice. There's definitely a lot of things that you could do with different sections of this whole thing. But that remains to be seen, and Jesus Christ, I messed that up. I heard other people say that the car is a bit unstable. I don't know if I can make it better with my setup. I don't think it's completely there yet, but we'll have to see. It's still a lot of fun. Oh god. Thankfully we are coming up to a repair center and also yeah, a gas station. There's still a bit of trek to go. But we are almost 80% through, so there's that as well. But yeah, there are also quite a few more items on the Trello for this whole event thing to begin with. So I would be very much surprised if we didn't get more of this before the update comes out. Then again, the Trello also has the private tuning share in progress, and that didn't come out yet, so I don't know. It's a bit iffy sometimes with how things progress. And if I wasn't so hyped for this update in particular, I would have definitely said that they should just be getting the workshop update and everything regarding buses and all of that sorted out. But with an update this amazing as this could be, I'm willing to make the compromise and suggest that maybe they bring this up to snuff and then go back to the other one. Completely selfless, I know. No, but this is pretty fun. But also in its current state, it's so rough, and I just hope that they make some good decisions here. Because at the end of the day, it could go either way, and that's kind of a worrisome part here. And yeah, I had to put this in as another detour because this part is fun. And I would have likely also missed the checkpoint there if I placed them correctly. I don't know. With how the vehicles handle in this game, you definitely have to consider a few things. And yeah, that was definitely not intuitive that I needed to do a right-hand turn here. What was I on about? I completely forgot. I'm so fried in my brain recently. Last few days have been very stressful and it definitely shows for me right now. But yeah, there are things that I'm working on right now. Just seeing if I can make stuff work. But we'll have to see how it all pans out in the end. I might as well show you guys another track while we are at it. But yeah, that's one lap on this track. 15 minutes per lap, I mean, that's reasonable, definitely. But yeah, I think in practice, if I was to make a finalized version, I would maybe not go for the entire layout, but just, I mean, we go here anyways. I could just keep going straight and then we cut out the west end if you want to. Could maybe also go north here and then just do this part and cut out this whole thing. What I have right now is just a very lengthy selection of good to race on roads. So it's kind of cool in its own right, but maybe a bit much. I don't know. I don't really care too much for limits here. Anyways, this one is being done with right now. Again, I'm gonna keep it in my notes maybe for later. But we'll have to see about what's coming up at some point. Let's see. I have another one as well. I'm just gonna quickly go into Notepad and copy over the whole track data. Again, everything that I'm doing here right now is work in progress, and this track right now, as it is, I don't know if it would actually come out. This one, however, this is from an event that has already happened. And we are going to go over there right now. So let's see. Gonna go back home and of course I'm a suspect. Where is the police? I would like to turn myself in here. But yeah, this was basically a day -7 or so thing. That track was done before the update came out officially, just with me having access to the leaked version. And this one is something that I've been working on yesterday. Yeah, let's just use the same car here. And this is from an old Coma event, so the in-game version of the Mini. Happened quite a while ago, but it's a fun track. Should definitely be updated with checkpoints and all of that. And why can't I see the starting checkpoint? Also, let's go for 2 laps here. I need to go and mark this as ready to begin with. I think this happened before I actually started making videos on the game. But yeah, fun route. I just need to figure out some of the checkpoint rotation to make the turn off things a bit easier. You're gonna see what I mean in a moment. The first turn is already one where this is gonna be a bit of a problem. because coming up here is a right-hand turn. I mean, you can kind of see the marker and all of that, but the checkpoint only reveals itself very late. Thanks for making a dinging roadblock over here. That's not part of my layout. That's just spontaneously happening because the AI is a bunch of dumbasses. Did I not update the buses? I may have forgotten. Oops. But yeah, my goal here is to have enough checkpoints so that it's easy to follow the entire route. I also made sure to expand the checkpoint width so you can at least get onto the sidewalk at least a little bit, like halfway. It's not really something that you always want to do because it's always gonna be bumpy and upsetting the car quite a bit. But in the end, it's better to be a bit more lenient with checkpoints, also to avoid stuff like that over there. But yeah, when it comes to the intersections, I would ideally like to maybe keep the checkpoints on the road that you are supposed to go on, but rotate them a little bit so that they are easy to see once you approach them from the side. But yeah, I think this is, checkpoint placement wise, this is decent. I don't even remember how many I'm using. It's quite a few. But then again, we are talking about lengthy courses here anyways. Even the short ones in Motortown are usually quite long because outside of towns it's very difficult to make a short layout, just with how long the roads are before you get to any intersection. So even if you just pick some area on the map and just pick the roads that are going directly around it, it's usually gonna be like 2 minutes long to go around there, or even longer depending on the area. Just with how low density the road network is. I mean, it's kind of fun, it works for the game. But I feel like for with that context we kind of need longer or higher checkpoint limits. So that we don't just end up putting down a checkpoint per road and call it a day there. And yeah, when it comes to the new vehicles, I absolutely love the Delta. I think I called it Stratos in the last episode. I got called out by Scaleman for that. I mean, fair enough. I know the difference between the Stratos and the Delta. The Delta is this one right here. It's basically a boxy car, looks like a buffed up Golf Generation 2. Also from the same era. And the Stratos is basically a wedge. Mid-engine, rear-wheel drive, rally car, or also just the civilian sports car version. Very lightweight, very twitchy. Could be interesting for the game as well at some point. But I don't know. I hope that in the future, or at least in the near future, they focus a bit more on adding more like regular cars. Something mainstream that you would expect to see in traffic. Because if they keep going with these niche things like the Lobo, which is really just a prototype of what was supposed to be a new version or new type of semi-truck, but the prototype has shown that there were serious safety concerns and therefore it never made it into production. It's a cool vehicle to have, but I think right now they should be focusing on other stuff. Replace the asset pack vehicles since they want to do that anyways. Keep adding some regular cars and of course anything that's needed for any new update. Like for the whole Vengeance stuff, it wouldn't have worked if we didn't get the whole Limusi lineup. And yeah, the niche oddballs and all of that, can definitely have them, but I think there's a time and a place, and the time might be a bit later than this. And also from what I heard, I mean, I've done some modeling in the past. I know that first up you need to make a model for a vehicle, but then also to get it into the game and have it work properly, there's a whole lot of other set of work to be done. Like in this case, setting up the suspension, the engine, the lights, maybe making the doors work as well. There are a few things that, and this is because I've been working with a different type of program, not Blender, but something that was kind of specifically geared to GTA car modeling back in the day. They had already set up a few things in that modeler for steering wheel and all of that. I mean, I think that's the case here as well. But some things have been prepared there that I don't know how much manual setup they have to do, like installing the actual light sources into the cars if you hit the brakes or so, and or just especially the front lights. But it actually has a beam going and all of that. There are a lot of these things to be dealt with, especially if your vehicle is also supposed to do some special stuff like maybe the dump truck or Kira rollback, the Brutus Wrecker, that kind of thing. And in the end, it might not just be that. The problem might not be that we don't have models that should be added to the game. The problem might be more that Mr. Hwang needs to also put in the work to get them actually functional for the game, and that's a lot of work. So that's why maybe things have gone a bit slower than people would have liked to. It's just yeah, how the whole thing works if you have one main programmer who has to do a lot of the stuff on their own. Not trying to assign any blame here or anything, it's just how it is. Making a game is a lot of work, and I'm overall happy that we even have somebody like Mr. Hwang to begin with, who not only wanted to make this game happen at all, but also has the skill to deal with a lot of the stuff on his own. I mean, compared to Railroads Online, where even the basics are all dodgy and nothing really works. For something this ambitious, I think it's overall going pretty decently. There are a lot of issues, I like to point them out when they arise and all of that, but at the end of the day, I mean, I'm still playing, I'm still having fun, and that definitely speaks to there being something really good about the game to begin with, at least in my opinion. But yeah, anyways, I didn't want to turn this into whatever that was. Just wanted to show off some cool stuff and yeah, go through a few texts that I made and what I'm currently working on. The thing is, a lot of this whole stuff is going to happen beside the scene, behind the scenes I mean. So I don't know how many videos I'm going to make on the meta in the foreseeable future. I can't just go out and make a new track showcase video all the time. I don't think that would be that interesting. But I definitely have plans on continuing to work on this stuff, giving my feedback to the dev to hopefully improve things, and also setting stuff up for future events and so on. So what I mean to say is, I think we might be back on the main character for a while. I don't really want to just abandon the other one now, but I also don't like just jumping back and forth between them. It would be pretty easy for me in this game, since it can have multiple characters without a problem. But I think for the series it would start to be very confusing if I went back and forth, so I don't know what to do. I still have a few videos on the other character, but maybe it's better to focus on the update, the event stuff and all of that for the time being, and then go back to the other one later down the line. I'm not sure. Let me know what you think, what you want to see. But yeah, I'm definitely kind of slotted in right now with this character doing the event stuff, and I'll have to see how it goes for video making. Just let me know what you think of this, what you want to see, and with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Have a good one, and bye bye.